really helps women with actionable tools on how to increase their revenue, how to ask for what you're worth, how to have the resources to get to the next level, and those things. So if that interests you, please feel free to go to 100female-entrepreneurs.com and sign up or follow at 100 Females. And a few other things I do as well, but I'll definitely save that for the end and just jump right on in with AJ. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Okay. All right. So now, Nicole, I guess we can move right into the content. I know the clock is ticking. So, guys, we're gonna typically we do have the back and forth Q&A session, but we're gonna try to let Nicole get through the content, and then we can take Q&A at the very end. So write your questions down, and if we don't get to the questions, we can definitely email them to Nicole, and we'll make sure that we facilitate you getting those answers back.
Excellent.
Nicole? Hey, Nicole.
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Well, you can go ahead and get started with your tips on getting publicity.
Okay. Okay, excellent. So everyone that's on this webinar, this is going to be a little bit different. I want you guys to take notes. I want you to pull out your iPads, your smart tablets, smartphones, a piece of paper, etc. Because for each tip that I give you, it's going to be an actionable item I want you to take back and actually apply to what it is that we're discussing. And then let me know further on, or let AJ know further on, if some of these tips work for you, if once you did some of these things, that it helped at least increase your exposure or your brand story in some way, form, or fashion. So 10 tips to getting publicity for your business or your brand. Tip number 1, knowing what makes you newsworthy. And so this differs for each media outlet. So I get a lot of people that inquire about our PR publicity services, and they don't really have a newsworthy story. Let's say, for instance, you're coming out with another T-shirt line. There's 7,009,2,800 T-shirt lines. What makes yours different? You know, and what makes it stand out, and why would the media care? You know, outside of your circle of friends and family and, you know, those who love you, who of course care about anything you do, why would the rest of the world care? So let's take, for instance, you were just you happen to be timely with the politics, and your T-shirts covered a lot of the sentiment of what's going on with the presidential race. That might be newsworthy. Or let's say that you're using a new fabric or a new strain of cotton that has never been utilized before. That makes it newsworthy. Those different things make the media care and make them want to extend their outlet towards the coverage for what it is you're doing. So what I tell people is figure those things that make you stand out in the beginning before you even roll your product or your brand out, because it's kind of hard to add the icing on top after it's already been done. So it's hard to develop this whole T-shirt line and then at the end start to think about what makes us different, and you're just kind of creating a whole bunch of BS to figure out how to separate it. It's more beneficial for you to figure out in your developmental phases and in your beginning phases, what are the niche areas you're tapping into, or what are those different highlight factors that you can really capitalize on as far as differentiating you from what's in the marketplace. So that's just one thing for you to remember about making it newsworthy in your development stages, and then figuring out and pulling out and using that in your marketing as far as what is your standout factor. So your action tool or your action homework assignment is to write down 2 to 3 things that make you different from the masses and incorporate that into your social media bios and your brand description. So it shouldn't be hard to find out what makes you different. When you're using those, and it's so unfortunate for so many entrepreneurs, they don't take advantage of using their social media bios or their descriptions on their websites to full advantage. You put in, I am a marketer and I create unicorns and lollipops and I'm a coffee lover. And you just miss thousands of people visiting your social media trying to figure out how they can utilize you or in what way they can utilize you. So definitely make sure that you add that to your social media bios and brand description. Tip number 2, staying relevant. So figuring out what's going on in your industry and how you can maintain relevancy in it. So what I notice with a lot of people in business, they are in their own bubble. You know, you might ask them, hey, you have a new perfume that you're launching. What is the highest selling perfume right now in your market that's targeting your demographic? And they'll be like, well, I don't know. So you can't just emerge onto the scene not having done your due diligence and research. What is already going on? What are the trends in your industry? Do colors drive your trends? Do politics or the economic climate drive your trends? Do certain things that you need to be sensitive of, such as wording? So let's take, for instance, Black Lives Matter. And there were so many brands that were advertising or supporting things unbeknownst to their knowledge about their political affiliations or where they stood on things. And as soon as you saw, as soon as it was called to the attention of their support to certain areas, then brands would be boycotted and, they would be dealt with through social media backlash and those different things. And for some of those brands, you could tell they totally were caught off guard. Like they weren't being relevant. They weren't staying plugged into what was happening in the climate that they were operating in, and it caused detriment to their organization, to their companies, to their revenue goals for that quarter, et cetera. It can get very, very deep and just cause you to lose a lot of things. So you really have no choice but to stay relevant, not just with your competitors in your industry, but what's going on in similar industries and even opposing industries, so you can find inspiration. So your next take-home action or your piece of homework is for you to set up Google News alerts, and you can just Google very quickly on how to do that. And I want you to really put in, first and foremost, your company name or your brand, so you can see what's being written about you online. That should never catch you by surprise. You should never have a whole Yelp page full of negative articles and negative reviews, and you weren't even aware of it. And then set up some of your competitors and things in your industry and similar industries, so you can just be very abreast of what's going on and have to keep up with that. Tip number 3, making your website media friendly. So first and foremost, creating a press room or media area on your website is very key. So when you're asking media to cover you or to provide coverage for your events or your product launch or your speaking tour, your book, or whatever it may be, a lot of media don't want to take the first chance on you. They want to see that other media has already found you to be interesting, and it gives you credibility. So making sure that as you start to get those press links, you list them on your website. You list them in an easy-to-find format where media can easily tap into that and see what has been the interviews that have already been done on you and some of those other things. And also, what's the media contact? If it's yourself, listed that way. If you have a publicist or a PR agency, easily list that information so it's easy to find in regards to how they can further get in contact with you if they want to set up interviews or receive more information for their publication. Okay, and so your take-home action is really easy for that one. It's just making sure that you have that on your site. Having a press room or a press link and an easy-to-find media contact on your website. Tip number 4, go where the news is. Social media is really key in today's day and age when it comes to your brand, getting the word out, etc. So finding out what bloggers are seeking, news stories in your industry, in your category, and also helping you to keep creating news for what it is you're doing. So a lot of people are you hear it a lot. I don't really get into social media. It's not really my thing. You know, I do Facebook, but I don't even want to try to attempt to do Instagram or Snapchat or Insta Story, or it's all these different things. But the thing is, either you get into it or you're going to get so far left behind in ways to get your brand story out there and to get information on your company out there. AJ talks about it a lot. And AJ, feel free to chime in. But the developments that are happening in these different social media platforms are unreal for what it could do to your brand. AJ was talking the other day about how Facebook, you can now shoot a talk show through Facebook and just so many other things that you can do now to really uplift the engagement level for your brand. So you have to make sure that you're participating. And if it's really, really not your thing, then hire an agent or hire someone that really specializes in that area to really help you out with that.
And
Tip number 5. Oh, go ahead, AJ.
No, go ahead. I know we're limited on time. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I wanted you to jump in on that.
Okay. No, I was just saying, so Facebook basically is trying to take over the world, right? And I say that, you know, that's full of, it's halfway joking and halfway not. They're trending toward a news channel, and they've already laid out a plan. So now if you watch videos, you notice that the videos scroll amongst themselves, and then every, you know, 4 to 5 videos, you'll see a sponsored ad, right? That's where they're headed. So now you can actually schedule your going live. There are several platforms out there. If you go to BeLive.tv, I think, BeLive.tv, or just Google BeLive, that is a platform now. So you can do side-by-side video as if you're on CNN talking to somebody else, right? So eventually I'm going to move to that platform on these calls where you will see Nicole's face to the right and AJ's face to the left as if we're talking to you from a news channel. So the developments are happening daily. And it's incredible the direction they're heading. It's a huge opportunity for anybody with a brand or anybody that wants to build their influence by providing content to people in your marketplace. Anyway, all right. Thank you, Nicole.
No problem. So that's what I'm saying. Is either you jump into it head first or it's going to pass you by at a tsunami rate. So if you are in this to win, you just have to delve into it. Tip number 5, knowing your target. And not so much your target audience, because of course you've done the research on that to get this far, but knowing your target when it comes to pitching media. So if you are pitching a writer at Oprah Magazine, at O Magazine, and that writer specifically focuses on mental health, and you pitch them on your fashion line, you will get immediately rejected. You'll probably get blocked from their email portal. And, you know, if anything comes in the future, they're going to just feel like you're a very uneducated person trying to pitch them. So you want to make sure that you educate yourself on what the reporter writes on, what they focus on, how they like to get their information, if they have deadlines, making sure you understand yourself, if you're doing this yourself. Is this a weekly publication? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Is it yearly? Is it online where they're putting up content daily? Those types of things matter a lot to how you send them information and whatnot. I know a lot of the dailies like bloggers and e-sites, etc., they want me to send the information to them so they can just copy and paste. They have, you know, they're getting content out a million times throughout the day. So I have to make it as easy for them as possible. Whereas maybe a quarterly publication, they want the story that's going to be very evergreen that no one else has gotten, that's very in-depth and really makes an impact on their readers. So they might want to set up an in-depth interview, follow a client around, get the opportunity to get some intimate answers from them that they might not get from anyone else. You just really want to know your writer, your journalist that you're pitching. So what I wanted to do with that one, as far as your take-home action, is for you to take a poll with your family, your friends, your constituents, and see how they would describe your product. So you have a more, or your brand, so you have a more realistic view of how it's viewed, so that you can understand when you're pitching stuff to media, etc. What might they be getting from it? You know, you might think that you're pitching this luxury perfume line, but everything about your brand is saying that this perfume is for the average mass market shopper, Walmart, Target, drugstore. But in your mind and your price point, you're thinking this is easily a Nordstrom, Bloomie's, etc. Lux piece of product. So prior to you getting into really tapping into the media and reaching out to them, first do a good roundup of research of what people, that trusted people in your area, in your arena, and even in this league that AJ has on his private Facebook group, making sure that you just kind of test what are other people getting from your brand, what are their perceived notions, what do they think about it, and what's that feedback that you're getting. Tip number 6, becoming a resource. Becoming an authority in your industry is very key. If you are able in any way to kind of assert yourself, you should do so. One, is great for you to give back to the industry that you love so much. 2, it'll continue to lead opportunities your way. So through your social media platforms, release a tip, Monday tip of the week about things that you're working on or what you specialize in. So if you're a florist, every Monday, here goes a flower tip Monday, to showcase that you're an authority in what you're doing. On your blog, write some pieces in regards to your industry and maybe the do's and don'ts of hiring a florist for your wedding and what you should remember, and how to do, and of course make things relevant, how to do florals for a home party during the holidays. You'd be surprised if it's expertly written. Other media sites might reach out to you to pick up that story, and there goes instant press right there. Or you can use those opportunities to pitch yourself as someone who should write. So like Huffington Post, Black Enterprise, so many sites allow so much content from non-staff writers. So those are just types of things you can work on. And even there's a website called medium.com. It is basically called the world's newspaper, where you can write articles and things and give yourself plenty of publicity. So clearly you have to believe in yourself first before other people can. And you can write many expert articles. The SEO optimization on those sites are amazing. If you don't know what SEO is, make sure you Google that tonight before you go to bed. And it just helps to really push your Google rankings. And, when people are searching for things, they can find you a lot easier. Tip number 7, make sure you fill a void. So breaking through the clutter, really asking, delving into your brand story and figuring out how to break free from the noise. So if you feel like you're in a space and everyone is utilizing, let's say that you sell hair extensions, and everybody is utilizing Instagram to push that. Where's the void? What's not happening? What women are not being addressed directly through that product, and figure out how you can really capitalize in that area. And by doing so, you'll definitely attract a lot of press opportunities because you're filling a void or a conversation that hasn't been taken. Tip number 8, you can always offer an exclusive. So if you have, let's say, for instance, a book coming out, and you want to offer an exclusive to a writer to discuss it, to see it, they get a copy firsthand, able to review it up front, or as a book critic or whatnot. People love exclusives. You have to be very key with exclusives. If you offer that out to someone, you want to make sure it's an outlet that's large enough that it hits the masses, because you can only do one exclusive, and then some of the other large outlets might not be interested once that main outlet has run it. So you have to really assess, and that when it comes to exclusives, offering exclusives and things of that nature, it's really good to use a consultant that can help guide you in the right realm of what to do with that. But that's definitely another way that you can get information out. Tip number 9, networking, not just online but offline as well. A lot of media are just in different realms now. It's not like everybody works at a newspaper or a magazine office throughout the day. Media could be all around at multiple events and things of that nature. If you know that you are doing an eco-friendly, sustainable product, you should go to an eco-friendly, sustainable conference. There will be media there. You can connect with them. You can really hone in on letting them know your story and reaching through. It's countless times that myself or clients have been able to get that physical connection with someone to really push their story through. And, of course, that can happen online, too. You just have to be very sincere and very organic in your conversation. And then the last tip that I have for you is create your I am statement. So what's your brand's true organic story? Not necessarily what you want to be or aspire to do, but what truly is your product. So take, for instance, like Carol's Daughter. Carol's Daughter, really, their sales have soared because of the organic story of Lisa Price being in her kitchen, making these homemade products, and just, honoring her mother's testament and doing this in honor of her, and then being discovered and being able to get her product out to the masses. So millions and millions of women make hair care and skin care and soap products in their house, so they all related to her, and she became the hero or the shero for all those women, and they bought into the loyalty of supporting her brand. So making sure that you put your I am statement together, making sure that you really hone in on getting your organic story out there. And I always say, too, it's really good to get in front of your story in the beginning. If you have any areas or discrepancies or hardships and you're trying to hide those things, people really revolve around transparency in 2016 and beyond. Any of those hardships or whatnot are some things that'll make people really tap into supporting you. If it's something too crazy, then by all means consult with a professional before releasing that information. But it's good not to hide from your own truth, to put that out there and be very real on who you are. People support other people and not necessarily products. So that would definitely help drive you a lot. So your last take-home assignment from this talk today is take the time to write your I am statement. Think of your brand as a person. So going back to the florist example, if you're a florist, think of your I am statement as your brand is three-dimensional as a person, and write that out, and then stay true to integrating that into the other publicity angles and other marketing collateral that you have, so that it has a more personable effect and it relates person to person. So AJ, that's everything in regards to my 10 tips for publicity for your own brand. I definitely think in the beginning you can do it yourself if you're very focused to doing so, but a professional will be needed to get it to the next level. But in the beginning, start with it. See what people like. See, what news people are interested in. Build some of your own stories, so by the time you do invest that money in a PR agency, they have some meat to work with, and then also you know a lot, so you can know what you're paying for, which is very key. So thank you, AJ.
Cool. All right. So Nicole, you have time for one question. I have one question on here.
Yes.
Okay. All right, guys. So this question comes from Shannon Jackson. And Shannon says, how do you monitor your broadcast, print, digital, and social success? Do you use software such as Cision, I think it says, Zigna Labs, Clear, and Trendkite. What would you suggest for someone starting out, may not be able to afford enterprise-level software, but still needs something robust? So I think she's talking about metrics, it sounds like.
Okay, so if you are talking about metrics, even when you Google, there's so many different free sites that can pull that stuff up. It just might not aggregate the information for you. So you might have to do one specifically for Instagram, one for Twitter, and then of course Facebook provides its own analytics in regards to that. From the analytics side, I would need to know too exactly what she's trying to get from the analytics side, just to see, is she utilizing that for data for ads? Is she using that for content creation? Those different things, because then that can depend on what type of software you're using as well, Shannon. So
Got it. So,
yeah,
no, I'm sorry, Nicole. She says monitoring media hits.
Okay, so if you don't have a budget, then Google News Alerts is awesome. If you do have somewhat of a budget, then Meltwater is great. Cision is great. Those are kind of mid-range in regards to that. And even with Meltwater, it's meltwater.com, and Cision, CISION.com. Even with those, if the budget is limited, you can just get their media monitoring services. And for those who are on the webinar, media monitoring services means you can type in your keywords for your story or your brand, and it'll pull up any and everything in the news that's been that's mentions your brand or your client or yourself. So those are great mid-level things, and then of course you can go higher for that, but then you kind of get into the enterprise where you're spending, upwards of $20,000 and $30,000 for that type of software. So I always say it when all else fails, Google News Alerts is free. It'll capture at least 80% of everything, and then you could take it to the 100% capture at Meltwater or Cision.
Nicole, thank you so much. This has been awesome, and I know you have a movie to go tend to because you're a superstar like that. You got to go take care of a movie real quick. But anyway, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. There is a recording, so I will share the recording. Nicole, if you want a copy of it as well. Guys, go check out 100female-entrepreneurs.com. Follow Nicole on I Am Garner-Scott on all the social media platforms. Also follow 100 Females. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining, and everybody have a good evening.
Thank you.